Good morning. Today is Sunday, August 4th, 2024. In the year 2000, Robert Putnam published a very important book titled Bowling Alone. It's a groundbreaking book. It's well written. It's fascinating to read. And it is more relevant today than ever before. I urge you to read this book, Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. Now, for his title, he uses the example of bowling. For a number of decades in the U.S., bowling teams were very popular. I remember as a young child, my grandparents had their own bowling balls, and they played with a group every week. They also had a group at their home every week to play cards. And they are representative of so many people in the 50s, in the 60s, who joined all kinds of groups, clubs, gatherings, religious organizations, political, social. And then starting in the 1970s, that began to drop off. And hence the title of Putnam's book, Bowling Alone. In a recent interview, Putnam addressed what is happening now. And he said what we've seen over the last 25 years is a deepening and intensifying of this negative trend. We've become more socially isolated, and we can see it in every facet in our lives. We see it in the United States Surgeon General's talk about loneliness. You may have seen this recently. He's been talking recently about the psychological state of being lonely. Social isolation leads to lots of bad things. It's bad for your health, but it's really bad for the country because people who are isolated, and especially young men who are isolated, are vulnerable to the appeals of some false community. Eager recruits to the Nazi Party in the 1930s were lonely young German men. And it's not an accident that the people who are attracted today to white nationalist groups are lonely young white men. Loneliness. It's bad for your health, but it's also bad for the health of the people around you. We see today the tremendous rise in the number of people that have problems with mental health challenges. And remember, during the years of COVID, this was a huge component of the harm that pandemic caused. The loneliness, the isolation. And Putnam shows, again through fastidious research, how the trend of connectedness, social connectedness, follows several very other important trends. For example, political polarization runs in parallel. The less social connectedness there is, the more political polarization there is. And we certainly see this rising here, United States, Israel, and in so many places. Also moving in tandem with this is inequality. In the United States during the 1960s, economically, equality in the United States was relatively high. In the mid-1960s, America was more equal economically than socialist Sweden. And then, beginning in 1965, he shows that turns around. And we plunge back down to great inequality. which causes so many social problems. And he traces through his research that the root cause of this is morality. A sense that we're all in this together and that we have obligations to other people. When that sense is high, people are joining groups, people are caring about the institutions, there is relative social equality and harmony. And when that lowers, when that decreases, the sense that we're in this together and we have to help each other, when that lowers, then all of those other trends follow downward as well. We're not going to fix, he writes, we're not going to fix polarization, inequality, social isolation until, first of all, we start feeling we have an obligation to care for other people. And this is at the heart of Putnam's work. There is a proven solution, and Putnam shows this with copious data in every area of life. What helps all of this is joining a club. Connecting with other people allows us to not only have our own personal experiences, but to generalize our experiences, to understand how other people live and feel. And it doesn't matter what kind of club it is. It could be something that's religious, come into the Minyan and Shul. It could be something secular, it could be sports, it could be culture, it could be just fun. It doesn't matter what it is. Just the idea of doing something as a group with other people. The only common denominator is it needs to be fun. It needs to be enjoyable because it's not medicine. He is famous for advocating bowling clubs, right? Not just going to bowling alone, but bowling with clubs, with groups. Because when you're in a group, you're bowling together and you're schmoozing and you're talking and you hear from each other and you trade ideas and you gossip and whatever it is. And that builds what he calls social capital, which is the fabric that leads to the strengthening of communities. So he writes, I'm famous as the advocate for bowling clubs, but you don't bowl so you can build a better community. You bowl because it's fun. I mean, if you like bowling. I'm not personally a bowler, but if you like bowling. And in doing the bowling in a team, you're hanging out with people and you're talking about different things and you're getting to know each other and you build social capital. Now, Putnam further distinguishes between two different types of social capital, and this is very important. There is bonding social capital, and there is bridging social capital. Bonding social capital is the ties that link you to people like yourself. So if you get together with a group of people who are similar to you, that's bonding social capital. Similar age, similar religion, similar outlook, similar cultural values. So that's one kind of building social capital, creating networks. And the other is bridging social capital, where you tie yourself, you connect with people who are unlike you. So someone who, let's say, is a different age than you, someone who is a different religion, someone who has a different cultural background. Now, both of these are important. But in a diverse society like ours, we need a lot of bridging social capital. The more that we can do, where we join in groups with people who are different from us, is even more important in building social capital. It's also harder. And certainly we see this all around us. It's easier, of course, to join together of like minds, of similar backgrounds. That happens all the time. to find ways to join together with people of different backgrounds who are unlike us, that takes a lot more effort. But it's much, much more helpful to society. I have seen this firsthand throughout my career. And just for a moment, I want to focus on two groups. And these two groups are indicative of thousands more. I am a great fan of the Cote St. Luke Men's Club. First, I have the privilege to frequently be asked to speak there, and I always enjoy it when I do. It is a wonderful group with so many activities and interests and lectures and games and so many different things. You could be busy full-time just with the presentations, the activities of the Cote St. Luke Men's Club. It's a wonderful organization. When COVID came, they moved everything online, mostly on Zoom. And they increased their level of activity. For many people, hundreds and hundreds of people, it helped them cope with the isolation of COVID. But I know of a number of people for whom it was a lifeline. Their only contact with others during COVID. I was very active during COVID with people who were suffering physically, emotionally, spiritually, and in addition to helping make sure that these people were getting the expert help they needed, I often referred people to the Cote St. Luke Men's Club. And here's what's incredible. Here we are in August 2024. The quality and effectiveness and range of Cote St. Luke Men's Club continues to rise today. Kol hakavod to the many volunteers who work so hard to make it the success it is. They are a great example of what Putnam describes as necessary for the well-being of the individual and of the community. The other effort that achieves the same goals with the same enthusiasm and dedication is the ADATH Sisterhood. The range of their activities is enormous. There are Torah classes, cooking sessions, mahjong, bridge, canasta, book clubs, and on and on and on and on. I've said this many, many times. Whenever they would ask me about a new endeavor, the answer is yes, because every program that they offer is a chance to be able to have people join in groups to do things that are fun together. And it doesn't matter whether it's religious or secular, physical, intellectual, it doesn't matter. Every single aspect of that has a spiritual benefit of helping the individual and building social capital, making our community stronger. I see firsthand the positive effect and enjoyment people have when they participate in something fun as a group. Mahjong, canasta, bridge, it doesn't matter what it is. And just one other example, we now who are doing the exact same thing, joining together to study together, the same benefit. So I urge you, first, if you have not read Robert Putnam's Bowling Alone, please put it on your list. It is a classic work. It is very interesting and it's very worthwhile. But if you are not part of a number of groups that do things like this, games, activities, etc., please consider to start. It will improve your health, your outlook, and your community. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.